Washington Fish Questers, Blake here, my garage. I know that the pink salmon season has peaked and it's starting to go on the way down. I'm filming this on August 21st. However, they will be, at least in southern Puget Sound, and probably throughout, until early September, cruising our shorelines, entering the rivers. You know, they'll be peaking in rivers here soon. At any rate, though, I'm going to go do a little shore casting tomorrow. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to show you how I like to use a buzz bomb, the couple of modifications I like to make. Alright, I got about a dozen of these open, but just for dramatic effect, I'm going to take this one out of a package. Brand new buzz bomb. The buzz bombs, you probably know, comes with the buzz bomb. This is a 2.5 incher. I think it's the most common. And let's see here. We got the triple barb hook, which you of course cannot use in Puget Sound, and the rubber stopper, which I do use sometimes, but for how I like to rig them up, I'm not going to use this. The only thing I'm using is this piece of pink lead. Since we can't use that triple barb, let's start with the hook. I like to use a Big River bait hook. This is a Gamakatsu 1/0. And what luck, I even have one left, so I can use it. So pinks have, they have the famously soft mouths, and their mouths aren't always huge either. I mean, their salmon mouths are pretty big, but I kind of like the smaller profile of the river bait hook there. As you know, pink salmon like to hit pink things, so I like to use this Pro-Tech powder paint for the hook if I can't find any hooks that are already pink. But I kind of like using this powder coat paint anyway, just because it's like kind of thick. I seriously think a pink salmon would just hit the hook at that point because you make it a little thicker and very pink. Alright, the way this stuff works is you heat the metal. Usually it'd be like a lead jig head, but you can do it with the hook. You don't want to overheat it for sure, because you don't want to, damage the integrity of the hook. Then you dip in, and it's pretty cool, almost as if by magic the powder turns to kind of like a smooth coat. Alright, there's the finished product. As you can see, I left right under the eye of the hook clear so that I could tie onto it, and then the point I went a little too high up on, so I'm actually going to take my pliers here and clear that off. Alright, there you have it for real. Like I said, I'm pretty sure pink salmon, if you just threw this in front of them, they would hit it. At least when they're nailing things in the salt, these fish are not line shy, so I'm going to take about 2.5 feet of a nice stiff leader, like a Maxima here. I've wetted my line. I'm going to do the old Snell knot, through the eye there. Leave a loop in the back. And wrap up against the shank there. I'm going to go over 6 or 7 times, maybe lucky 7. Hold that, put it through the loop, tighten it up, and after I trim that, we are ready to go. Next on that leader, I'm going to slide down 2 beads, 2 small beads. I'm going to go right there to the eye of the hook. Those 2 beads aren't only buffers, but I use them to keep the hoochie, which is going to be the next step, presented as well as it can be above the hook. Now this might seem like a bit much for some folks, but I like to cut off about every other tentacle of my hoochies. Sometimes I'll go every 3rd. I do that for any hoochie application because it gives those little plastic tentacles much greater play in the water. When they're not thinned out at all, I don't think that there's much movement to them in the water, I mean, they switch back and forth, don't get me wrong, but they're not kind of being sporadic at all. There we go, that'll do it. I mean, you'd want to eat that, right? Alright, so now I'm going to slide that hoochie on down my line. Oop. I like to pull the hoochie down to make sure the beads are actually in the mantle of the hoochie. So right up here at the nose, there's the top bead, then right under the eye is the second bead. That makes it so that the hook sits kind of at the end of the tentacles here. If those beads weren't there, it'd be kind of more middle tentacle, and that could lead to some missed strikes if the hook was that higher up and if the pink just happened to, get the back of it. Booyah, so that's my final product there. Besides, I'm going to put one more bead up here just as an extra little stopper for if it comes up and hits the knot that's tying it to the swivel. It's really not much of anything, but it makes me feel better. Well, there you go. That's how I like to set up my buzz bombs. I'm pretty sure you can buy them almost exactly like this, but hey, when you put in your own work like this, it makes it all the more rewarding when you catch that fish. Alright, it's about 4 hours later. I'm headed up to Dash Point. More often than not, that's where I tend to pink cast from shore these days. I'll go down to Browns Point sometimes too, but both of those locations are kind of like North Tacoma. Although I'm fishing in the morning, I wanted to let you know that I do prefer fishing in the PM for pink salmon usually. That is for two reasons. One, you want to fish them on the incoming tide. Usually, at least the beaches that I fish are that way. It pushes them down kind of close to the beach. You know, they're trying to come down, in my case, to the Puyallup or the Nisqually River. So that's what's pushing them down Puget Sound as they're riding that incoming tide. And in the summer, the PM tide tends to be the more dramatic incoming tide. It goes from like a super low usually to a pretty high, and so it's just kind of like pushing more through. Then the second reason is if it's above 75 degrees, I'm just going to wear swim trunks and a t-shirt when I'm standing in the water. And since I'm going out in the morning, and for instance today, it's only going to be in the mid-50s, you know, before about 8 a.m., I will have to wear waders just so, well, I won't have to, but I will, just so I'm not uncomfortably cold standing in the water. One thing that the morning has going for it, though, is usually a lack of wind. Tacoma. A town so nice, they named it Tacoma. It's smoke season, unfortunately, so it's going to be kind of hazy this whole episode. I'm only going to have about 90 minutes to fish, so I'm not going to be standing out in it too long. I've arrived. Alright, with parking like this, holy smokes. You know the season's winding down, starting to wind down. It is a Monday morning, but usually Dash Point's pretty crowded as far as the parking goes, and it's like wide open. Maybe a quarter of the lot is taken. Hope you can see I'm wearing my pink shirt here. My buddy Bashy over at Bashy Fishing tells me that's the real trick to getting the pinks. Alright, that's the usual line here at Dash Point. People tend to do a little better the closer they are to the pier. The pier, by the way, which has been very popular for fishing in general, has been shut down for, at least 2 years, maybe 3. Needs to be restored. I don't know the progress of that, but hopefully it happens, because that is a real jewel in the kind of more southern sound area as far as the fishing pier goes. Might be a little better by the pier, but they run all up and down the beach, so, you know, with any of these pink salmon beaches, don't sweat it too much exactly where you're fishing. That first cast was great. Gotta love bombing out a buzz bomb. Oh, they just sail. I've got either 15 or 18 pound braid on. Cast really smooth. The technique is simple. You're just going to jerk it up and down. They'll hit it on the drop, so you want to let it drop with slack in the line. You'll see me reeling there as I, drop the pole to meet where the jig is. If I wasn't dropping the tip of my rod, I would not want to be reeling up the line like that, but all I'm doing is reeling up some excess slack. It's been about 20 minutes and I've yet to get into a fish. Usually I let my buzz bombs really drop. However, sometimes if they're closer to the surface, you might want to keep it more at eye level. The fellow to my right is slaying him and he's having a much quicker retrieve. So I've tried a quicker retrieve, and now I'm just going to try, and this is what I love about putting the hoochie on the buzz bomb, I'm just going to try a straight up retrieve like you would if you were just casting a spoon. Just straight up.
Thank you.
Oh, nice. Yep, that was not on the fall. That was just a straight retrieve like it would with a spoon, and that's one of the main benefits of putting that tail on it. Well, pretty steady action this morning. I'd say it's averaging about a fish a rod. You know, a lot of people losing fish as well. I'm still 1 for 1. The fellow to my right continues to slay, and he has the exact same setup I do, but it's smaller. I think he has like a 1.5 inch buzz bomb on. So I think I'm gonna go back to the truck and get my, Alright, I got my 2. pretty nice regular sized pinks. So I was out here about 4 days ago, and I went 1 for 3, and the one I got that day was really nice. I didn't air that because by the time I got my one, my camera was dead. However, I was fishing next to a couple of real cool dudes, and they were slaying, and it was a really great day. At any rate, yeah, it's like I say, it's probably peaked the pink fishery, but maybe not, because that was real fast action. I went 2 for 2 and got them in about an hour. So yeah, get on down. The pinks are still running strong. Thanks so much. See you next time on Washington Fish Quest.